Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our presentation today. I'm stressed out, and you want me to stay positive. This is Jamie Machek with the Nicolay Federated Library System in Green Bay, and I must say we had a pretty large registration turnout for this, which is great. I'm glad you're all here, but I was telling Stephanie, if you're feeling stressed out, I'm not happy about that, but hopefully she'll be able to provide some help and tips with that in her presentation today. So this will be recorded, and that will be sent to you in the follow-up email that you'll get hopefully later today. Anything she shares, slides, handouts, will also be sent in that email. So our presenter today is Stephanie Zimmerman, and I met Stephanie about 7 years ago actually at a Web Junction training, and we got reacquainted at another Web Junction training this past year. And she is the training and development coordinator for the library system of Lancaster County in Lancaster, PA. And their library system has 14 member libraries, 3 branches, and a bookmobile which serves almost 500,000 residents. And right now she designs and implements technology and training for staff and volunteers for her member libraries. So Stephanie, whenever you're ready, go right ahead.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jamie. I was really grateful to be asked to do this presentation with all of you today. And before we really get started into the heart of it, I just want to gauge where the stress level is of everybody, because according to careercast.com, they said this year that librarian is one of the top 10 least stressful jobs. And I thought, I don't know about that. I work with a lot of librarians, and I don't see it being the least stressful job in the world. So if you are feeling a bit stressed, you don't have to panic, because there is real power in shifting your mindset to find calm in the storm. I've worked a lot of years at doing that. I succeed many days, and I fail some days, so it's not 100%, of course. But a positive outlook really can cut down on all those harmful stress situations in work and in your life. So if you were to look at a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being I am at total peace. First I'd be asking why are you here, but other than that, 10 would be who do I call to have myself committed? And I want an honest answer. Don't just be funny and put 10, because we do feel like that some days. So from 1 to 10 in your question box, if you could just type that number 1 to 10, letting me know where you gauge your stress as today. That'll give us an idea, and I'll see what's coming in here. So I got a 6. An 8, oh yeah, we're on the right, 8, 10, oh dear, I won't name names, 7, yeah, okay, we're in the right place here, yeah, definitely. Okay, then this is definitely a needed presentation for this group, so, okay. So here we go. This is a Prezi presentation if you've never seen one of those before, so if you do suffer from motion sickness, I tried not to make it too movement oriented, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. All right. So first of all, to understand, why are you stressed, let's find out what stress is. First things first, it's a natural part of being human. So you're not going to be committed just because you have stress. And a person's psychological and physiological response, it's that response to the perception. I'm going to keep saying that word over and over again, perception of a demand or challenge. It comes from our primal fight or flight instinct, so we were all made with this. And what happens is, I said to Jamie right before the webinar started, I said, I can feel my adrenaline and cortisol going up due to the stress of having to present this. So those are signals from your adrenal glands that produce adrenaline and cortisol that produces the stress. So a lot of that hormone is why you start feeling the jittery jumpiness. So now the Mayo Clinic says that 25% of people they talk to say that their job is their primary stressor. So that's why we want to focus in on why is it stressful to be a librarian. So let's look at that a little bit more. Why do we have a stress-filled job? Because I'm sorry, I totally disagree with career.com. I think it is just as stressful as other jobs. So there's 2 ways to look at it. You have your external factors, which are things like perhaps it's a threatening environment. What's going on in your area? Are there budget cuts coming down the pike? I don't know of any librarian who doesn't say there are budget cuts. And then there's all that competing for the funds. So there's infighting amidst areas. There's elimination of positions, staff shortages. It's very hard to see one of your coworkers go away. We've all been through that. due to the budget cuts. Then, which is my world a lot, a torrent of all these new technologies coming down the pike. You got new databases that do greater things, but you have to learn more how to use them. Your integrated library system, are you migrating to another one? Is your new one getting an upgrade and you have to relearn things? What about all the mobile devices and the smartphones? That, my last few years, I mean, when I started learning technology to train it, those didn't exist. It was, here's your mouse, here's how you point and click. Now it's, okay, touch this, wait, let's get connected to the wireless. Now wait a minute, what app does this? So there's so much to stay on top of that causes relief from stress when it makes your life easier, but for those who walk in your library with the box just open and saying, how do I use this? It causes some stress. And then the whole ebook, audiobook, how do I download it, depending if you're a 3M or an Overdrive customer or all the other things that are out there where your patrons are saying, well, how do I use this? So those torrent of new technologies is quite a bit of stress that I deal with on a daily basis. And then lack of training. You're hired, go get them. Okay, where's my training? That's an external factor that causes a lot of stress. And then the whole virtual versus brick and mortar. There are a lot of people very concerned about their job security because people are saying, well, Google can do that. Well, we all know that's not true, but we have to educate others that that's not the truth. So if there's other external factors, any of you can also jot that down in your question box. I can call some of those out while I move on to the internal factors. And if I miss anything in there, Jamie's watching all your questions as we go along, and we're going to try to provide at least 10 to 15 minutes at the end. So feel free to jot down any of your questions as we go along. Okay, internal factors. So we've got the patrons and their demands. You know, there's lovely patrons, and then there's the patrons that walk through the door, and automatically the cortisol goes up. Automatically the adrenaline goes up. The work overload. So you're getting all these people laid off. Are they hiring other people to replace them? They're not doing that here. And I think this is a good place to tell my little story. Jamie asked me to do this webinar back in April or May when I was just the training and development coordinator here at the library system. Since then, I've had to say goodbye to a staff member, which was hard, and take over 3/4 of her job. So I'm now training and development / HR coordinator for, it's a small organization. There's only 20 of us here, but still, that's a whole new job to learn. And then our IT manager decided to move back to Alaska, and we're all very happy for him, but there's no one to run IT until we hire a new IT manager. So I now have the title of interim IT manager, also running the IT department with an amazing staff that's doing most of it. But I'm trying to learn how to be a manager because I've never managed anyone before and thought, hey, here's an opportunity. So you want to talk about some stress by internal factors changing? I am your #1 receiver of that right now. So so as I was putting this together, I said, I need to start taking my own advice again. So then there's work underload. Maybe it's so routine that it's mind-numbing, and maybe you need some stimulus to get out of that routine. Loss of motivation, feeling of isolation, where you have no one to go to talk to get through your job. You know, at a busy front desk, that's probably not the case, but maybe as a cataloger in the back of an office, it is. Irritable and negative coworkers and gossiping. It's a big internal factor, and it takes a lot of strength to overcome that one. I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. And then balancing that work and personal life, that personal life-work balance that's always so hard. So again, if there's any other internal factors that you can think of, you can jot those down in your question box. I'm looking through here. I don't think I see much. I just where you're all from. Cool. Wow, awesome. All over the place. Okay, so next we're going to look into what happens to us physically when we're under stress. And this is to motivate you to make the change to not be under stress. It's such an automatic. For years, I just was stressed out all the time. It's just the way I operated, and I just, yeah, it's me. I'm just a high-strung and stressed person. Well, that didn't work as I'm now 45, so in my 20s I could get away with that. But things might happen like weight problems, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, cancer, back pain, headaches, shortness of breath, ulcers. The list could go on and on physically. These are great big motivators, and if you stay on top of the news, what was the latest? We're sitting ourselves to death. So those of us who sit in chairs a lot of the day, I'm up and down. So if I'm out teaching, I'm not. But when I'm preparing, I could have an 8-hour day sitting on my butt. taking years off my life. Oh, that's nice to know. So there's lots of things physically where stress will get you. And then mentally, you could have eating disorders. No exercise will just mentally pull down depression on top of you. Burnout, which I'm going to talk more about in a second. Depression, anxiety, insomnia, relationship problems. So I'm trying to motivate you to want to make some changes. So hopefully this is making you think, I don't want to just be stressed out all day. But let's look at burnout. I love this picture. Attitudes are contagious. Mine might kill you. And this is where I want to do a little bit of self-disclosure about, I've been here at this job 11 years, and I would say about 4 years ago, I was about at this spot right here where I was looking at the want ads every day. I was blaming and my boss knows I'll say this, I was blaming my boss, I was blaming my job, I was blaming my environment, everything I could blame on why I was miserable. And so you didn't want to be near me because it's a contagious, burnout feeling, and it could kill you. So I started working very hard at looking at what the real problem was, and the real problem was me. I was participating in gossip. I was participating in the cynical attitudes. I was blaming the environment and everything going on around me, when the reality is I can choose how I feel every day. And that attitude shift has completely changed. I love my job. 4 years later, you're not seeing me looking for another job, except on those really bad days. So emotional exhaustion and negative or cynical attitudes towards others and yourself is just not a happy place to live. And there can be pockets in places where you work where it's just so insidious. If you're in one of those pockets, this webinar is here to get you out of that pocket. You want to remove yourself from that, but it is a lot of work. So let's look at how we can do something about our stress. How can we get out of this? Again, you might not be in the total doldrums, but just have moments of stress, so it's good advice for everybody. The environment we live in today, we want it all quickly. So I wish I could have found this cartoon. I read about the cartoon. I did every Google search known to mankind to find it, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So if you just picture in your mind a therapist sitting in front of his patient or her patient, and they're looking there, and they look at the person who's gone on and on and on about all their problems, and they just look at them and they say, just snap out of it. Just snap out of it, and slap them across the face. And down at the bottom it says, time-saving single-visit psychotherapy. So that's usually not how it works. So instead, let's look at some of the coping strategies that you could use at work. So now I got to say I've never done this one, but it was something that was suggested, is a stress diary. So anytime you're stressed, keep a little diary, write down what's stressing you out, and then you can refer back to it and look for common triggers and ways to eliminate them. I got to be honest, when I'm really stressed, the last thing I'm thinking about is writing down why I'm stressed in a diary, but it's an idea that might work for some. And then there's reducing the number of stressors, so getting away from it. And so for me, it was removing myself from the negative input. Did I have to set boundaries with certain people and not get into certain conversations, walking away at certain times in a conversation? It's hard to do when you were one of the main contributors, I got to admit. And if anyone is listening in on this who knows me and knew me then, I know they are really picturing that woman in their head. Obtaining more resources to meet your demands, if you can. I know these aren't all going to work if there's no money to be had to have more resources. Well, you don't always need money to have more resources. It could be just making the time to search out information. Setting realistic goals for yourself and others. Do not expect perfection. Do I have any people in recovery from perfectionism out there? I know it's pretty rampant in library world. It gets you nothing but misery, so aim for the B. That's my motto these days, aim for the B. It doesn't always have to be the perfect A. And we'll talk about, I'm going to go forward for a second and talk about SMART goals. So when you're setting those goals, make them specific and measurable, attainable, realistic. That one's really important. Don't aim too high, but don't aim so low that you don't have to work hard. You want to get out of your comfort zone, but don't kill yourself. And then set a time limit. By this date, I am not going to be miserable and talking about how miserable I am anymore. I'm going to either be in a new job where I'm happy and everything's great, or I'm going to make where I am happy. And those are both options a lot of the time. So let me go back here. Prioritizing. This is where I'm working right now the most. I am very good at making the lists, It's prioritizing them that's the challenge. You know, what is the most important thing, but not the most urgent? That's discerning what's urgent and important is really key, instead of what's urgent and annoying and could be done in 2 seconds and let me just take care of that now, and then 10 minutes later you're on another one of those little things, and then an hour later, oh yeah, I haven't started that webinar I'm supposed to do for Jamie. I really should start getting on to that. So making those priority lists is really important. And then managing your information. I live by Outlook. Well, I have a couple things I live by, but Outlook keeps me organized with the calendar and everything. I use Basecamp for project management. There's also one called Asana that some people use that I've been involved in. And then Evernote organizes my whole life. So if you can find tools that at least when you have a thought of something you need to do, you can get it out of your head, that takes away my stress. I might have lists that'll never get done, but at least it gets out of my head and removes that stress.
Stephanie, what's
What's
Basecamp? Is that like Asana?
It's like Asana. It's an online project management software. If you go to basecamp.com, you can use it free. And then if you want to get a professional license, I'm pretty sure TechSoup might have a discount for Basecamp, because I know we have a discounted system here in our office. So it's wonderful. It's just where you can write to-do list, name your project, have a calendar with timelines. It won't give you a Gantt chart if you've ever heard of those. Like if you're ever from the Microsoft project era, it doesn't have those Gantt charts. But it does keep you very organized, sends you email reminders, lets you work in groups, upload documents that you can share together, that kind of thing. So, all right. Let's see. Develop an effective social support system. Huge. You want to get around, look for people who have what you want. That's what I started doing. I looked at all the people around me in all the libraries I work in and where I work, and also in my personal life, and I looked at the people who were just always not that sick positive person that's always a little too positive, but that balanced person who just seemed to be real at times, and other times just have that, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through it. It's going to be all right. Looking for those people and then making them your support system it really has helped me. And they can be virtual people. Jamie's one of those people. People I've met on Facebook. Just making that network support system for yourself is huge. I can shoot things out for information, advice, get assistance in making changes. I'm not by myself trying to figure it out, or going to the gripe crew that will just bring me down more. So, and then create your own personal learning plan. A way for you to keep growing, to become a better version of yourself at all times. That's huge. I pretty much have done that on my own over the years through WebJunction. Huge facilitator for me in moving ahead professionally. They offer so much for free that if you're not taking advantage of that, you are really missing out. Take a break. Remove yourself from the situation. I do this on a regular basis now. I used to sit in meetings and get so verklempt, I can't think of a better word, but so ick. Every now and again I would just say something stupid, or say something that I had to apologize for later, or burst into tears. Our favorite, when you really want to make a point and you start crying. That's the best. So now what I do when I feel like that, I'll say, I got to take a break, and I'll walk out of the room, go collect myself, come back, and be a normal human being. And that has saved me from so much angst, I can't even tell you. Make the most of your workday breaks. If you're supposed to have them and you're not taking them, first of all, shame on you, although you shouldn't shame people, but go take your breaks. Don't eat your lunch at your desk every day. Get some fresh air. Chat with a coworker about a non-job topic, sit quietly with your eyes closed. Right before about 2 minutes before it was 2 o'clock, Jamie goes, "Are you deep breathing?" I said, "You caught me." "Yes, I am. I'm getting ready. I'm deep breathing." So breathe in peace, breathe out the fear that's starting to come down on me. So changing your perception, again, I have that highlighted again. Your perception of the situation makes all the difference. And while I say that, I'm checking my time. Oh, good. All right. Any questions I should be attacking now, Jamie? I'm trying to watch these, but...
Yeah. Not a question, but I wanted to share an interesting comment. Someone mentioned that her doctor recommended keeping a stress diary because she was having some lower back stress pain, and apparently her doctor thought festering all of that energy was doing some damage to her body. So I asked her if the diary has helped, and she said it has helped a little bit with the pain, but it's also helped, with those emotional things too, because you're putting your feelings out there instead of on paper, instead of letting them, fester inside you.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I'll also say physical therapy has worked wonders for me in that area. I have some physical conditions with it, but the stress, it goes right to my back, and if I can get on my floor, do my stretches, that helps a lot too. So, yep. Okay. I'm going to move beyond these now and go to personal coping strategies. I am the #1 offender of sleep. I don't suffer from insomnia, thank goodness, but the getting at least 7 or 8 hours of good sleep each night, not so good at that. Now, I have read some of us, I'm hoping I'm one of the us's who can get by on 5 and 6 hours, but I don't think that's probably reality. So I'm working on that one. Eat healthy, not just for your body, but for your mind too. I'll do another little self-disclosure. I used to weigh 370 pounds 14 years ago, and now I'm at a healthy weight for 14 years because I do eat healthily. And people can message me outside of this. That would be a whole other conversation, but it has made a huge difference in my stress over the last 14 years. Exercising, you want to get your regular exercise. It gives you that wonderful endorphin feel-good chemicals. You don't want them to the point where you're over-exercising. There are some people who get a little bit into that. Doing your whole body exercise is best. Getting that core strengthened is very important. And then learning relaxation techniques. I mean, I used to be the person who said this all sounded very hokey 14 years ago. I didn't want to get into all this stuff. But like I said, physically and mentally, I was sort of forced into it, and I'm so grateful that happened. So breathing, muscle relaxation, meditation, and I don't sit there and do, no offense, those who do, it does work, but om kind of meditation. I just sit in the quietness and whatever, so, and if you have a faith, I use some of my faith areas of life to help me in that area too, but just being quiet for 5 minutes. You don't have to be strategizing, just being quiet really does help. And have an outlet. Spend time in activities you enjoy. All work and no play equals burnout. So for those of you who are players and like to have fun, I've been looking for you to gravitate towards. I'm more of the serious, let's get her done kind of person. So those of you who have children know that cures you. I have a 7 and a 5-year-old, so they've cured me of a lot of that. So, but I want to really focus right here on this box here. Sometimes the best way to deal with stress is acceptance that there is nothing you can do about the particular event. Doing so allows you to let go of some of the stress related to it. After all, there's no sense in stressing out about something you have no control over. This helps me many areas of my job. If there's a place where I can make a difference, I'm going to exert whatever I can in that area, whereas before I used to just sit and blame the world. Now I'm going to do whatever I can, and when I come to that wall where my universe ends, then I don't just bang my head against the wall and bloody it up anymore. I just say, well, I did what I could do, did my part. I'm going to move on and make the best of the situation. That, I'm telling you, there's some days that is just such a okay, all right, but do your part, do your part. Then we come to, yes, go right ahead.
I also wanted to mention on the whole meditating thing, one thing that I've done a lot recently, not necessarily meditation and being quiet, but just unplugging. So at night, I will close my laptop, not look at Facebook, not look at email, not do those things. And I found it's just, I might be watching TV, I might be doing something not super active, but just kind of unplugging away, even from the social media, I have found to be helpful. So if you're someone, I think, who's addicted to some of those things, and not that that's always a bad thing, but I think that could help relieve some things too.
Thank you, Jamie. That is, 7 years ago, that would have been me, but again, the kids have kind of, there comes a point in the day where I have to unplug, little faces saying, we need you. So, but I know going forward as they get older and stuff that I'm going to have to really keep unplugged. Right now, they cured my workaholism. So, okay, so staying positive. Let's shift into where are the solutions? What can I start doing even beyond what we've already said? So the first thing, like I said at the beginning, stress is not all bad. In fact, it saves you in really life-threatening situations. What's bad is having that stress without recovery. So it's good in small doses, and you want to learn from it. But if all you do is stress, 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 and then reach that, oh my gosh, I'm completely shut down, and whatever your vices are, you're totally into them, that's not good. If it's stress, recover, learning from the stress, that is very healthy. Our brains are really more elastic. In fact, I learned, I don't have the citation or reference of this since I learned it at a workshop that I went to, but in the last, how did she say this? Now I'm going to get it wrong. In the last 5 years, what we know about 90%, how she said the 90% of what we know about our brain today, we've learned in the last 5 to 7 years. And I was like, wow, I've been dealing with this for the last 5 to 7 years. And I learned recently that our brains are elastic. And if you think of like taking a piece of cardboard with a scissors and putting a groove into it, you know, with your scissors and that groove, those are the pathways in our brains that over our whole lifetimes, these grooves are set up. So when we're presented with an issue, our automatic response is to go right into those grooves. For many years for me, it was to go eat something, or it was, you know, because I'm stressed out, I'm going to go eat something, or I'm going to get into a depressed state or whatever. So those grooves were established. Well, using these techniques over the last 14 years, those grooves, I have made new highways in my brain because it's elastic. You can rebuild it. It's so amazing. And it's actually true. I'm living proof of that. And many people are living proof of that. So let's see how we can do that. So here's your stressed brain. Yowza, we're being attacked. So what do we do with this? Well, with survival mode, let me get into my notes to get at the right place here. Okay. What happens is your stress brain is operating in this survival mode. You have this, I have this tunnel vision. I'm not saying all of you do, but fail to see all the opportunities we get in these tunnels. And I still go there. I have these days where I'm in a tunnel. And then what sets in is this big pessimism through this tunnel vision. I think that comes here. So there's this failure to believe that any better solutions are even possible. Like it's this compounding effect. And then we get into this learned helplessness state where these old thoughts, triggers all these old thoughts, I'm not good enough, it's not enough, I have to do it more perfectly, I have to do more research, I have to get more details, and then I get too stressed to even believe that one little change such as, hey, stop here, start doing the paper now, start creating the presentation now, start whatever your work project is now, you've done enough research. I'm too stressed to believe that's true, so I go back into, and these are my coping, hopefully you're thinking of your coping mechanisms that you've done, and so it just feels so big that you don't even think that small change will help. So what can we do? Well, here we go again. It's all about the perception. Stress is the interaction between where you are, your circumstances, and the way we're thinking about our circumstances. So if we change our thoughts in the circumstances, it will actually change the reality. I am telling you that this really does work. So how do we do this? So we go to the positive. So instead of seeing the stress as a challenge and just moaning and groaning about it, instead of seeing it as a threat, as a perceived threat and moaning and groaning about, there's nothing I can do because it's all my boss's fault. There's nothing I can do because if my coworkers would only do X, Y, Z, or in your personal life, if only my husband, if only my children, if only, right? Instead, look at it as challenges that we can overcome, a way that we can manage them instead of trying to escape them. I lived many years in trying to escape them. It doesn't work. It does not work at all. So how do we manage the challenges instead? So here's a simple technique. Oh, I love this. If you've never seen this, I got to think of the woman who showed this to me for the first time. MLX, Marianne Lennox. She is a trainer in a southern area. I haven't heard from her for a while, so I'm trying to think where she is. Anyway, she posted this on Twitter, I think it was. This is the truth. Are you happy? Yes. All right, then keep doing whatever you're doing. It really is that simple. Are you happy? No. Do you want to be happy? No. Okay, keep doing whatever you're doing. So are you happy? No. Do you want to be happy? Yes. Change something. I lived on the outside of this right side of the circle for many years, and then about 14 years ago took a detour from do I want to be happy? Yes. So let's change something. And for the last 14 years, I've been daily changing something about myself. So, because I can be my own worst enemy. So I love that. I have that hanging up. Anyone who knows me knows I have that poster. If you've never read The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, it's a great place to start on how to become more positive. You can gain personal freedom from these agreements and beliefs, and make yourself and others get that creating limitation and unhappiness out of your life. So how do we do this? So let's take these apart. Be impeccable with your word. These sound very spiritual and all this, but really they're really just common sense. So speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using words to speak against yourself. That is really hard. Oh, that was the worst presentation I ever did, blah, 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 or gossiping about others. That just does not help at all. Use the power of your word in directions of truth and love. Hey, I did the best I could. I gave my all. I did the best I could today. Even though all the faces I looked out there looked like they were going to fall asleep or whatever, it's going to be okay. I was telling Jamie beforehand, I can't see people's faces. I'm used to always being in front of people doing this kind of thing. So I can't see your faces, but I'm just going to assume that you are just getting so much out of this that it's just unbelievable. Take responsibility for yourself. So about 3 or 4 years ago, I'm like, I was within an IT department here. I did what I could, and then a big strategic plan came down the pike where the whole county was saying we need more training, we need more this, we need more that. So I went to the boss and I said, how can all this training happen when I'm enmeshed within an IT department? I think I need to be my own department, and I need to be managing that and come out of that and do it at another level. And that was, I was able after some time to have that happen. I'm very grateful to my boss for that. But I had to ask. It wasn't anyone's idea but mine. I had to ask that. Be impeccable with yourself, and that reflects to others. So when people come in here and I'm having a bad day and I start gossiping, we have put together here something called guiding principles in our strategic plan. And I didn't put them on a slide, but being stronger as a team, expecting accountability, we're all leaders, speak with integrity and honesty. That doesn't say gossip. Treat others with and their time with respect. Always seek lifelong learning and professional growth, my favorite, of course, and create and maintain an agile environment. So I have that right up here on my cabinet, and when someone comes in and I start going, well, so-and-so, blah, 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 I smack it, and I say, uh-oh, not living by the guiding principles, got to stop right now. And, sometimes people roll their eyes at me. Sometimes they're on board and they're like, you're right, we got to stop. So, and some days we just go on and keep gossiping, and then we got to fix ourselves the next day. So don't take anything personally. My favorite mantra to myself is, what others think of me is none of my business. I add a word to that, none of my business. You can put whatever word you want in there, but I want to really drive it home when I say that. So nothing others do is because of you. Really, nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own life. When you're immune to those opinions and actions, you won't be the victim of that needless suffering. That, I still have days where I can't quite grasp that, but it's their fault. They did this to me. No, how I perceived what they were saying and took it on as how I behaved with that information. So we take things personally when we agree with others, with what others have said. If we didn't agree, the things that others say wouldn't affect us. So if you say to me, Stephanie, when you're doing something in your office and you're making all this noise, you really just need to shut your door. And I perceive that, oh my gosh, they don't think I can do my job right, and blah, blah, all this, that, and the other, because I'm agreeing with them instead of saying, hey, I'm doing the best I can in my job. So it's all my own perception of taking it on. They're allowed to think whatever they want. It's how I react to it that's my responsibility. And their actions and words are based on what they believe. So if I can remember that, which I would say 65% of the time I'm at that I can remember that. I want to get to 75, 80. I'm not there yet. I know people who are, where they're just like, well, isn't that interesting that she thinks this, that? That's just very interesting. So I'll try that, and inside I'm going, that's not interesting. It's really ticking me off. I'm getting a little stressed out right now. So I'll keep working on it. And when people have beliefs that are different from ours, I'll speak for myself, but it said this in the literature. We get scared. We start defending ourselves. We impose our point of view on others. My main thing is, but you have to understand. You need to understand where I'm coming from. No, they really don't. I can make my point, and if they don't understand, I can just move on. But that is very hard for me. Why become angry, create conflict, and expend more energy arguing when you're really aware of this whole principle. Just don't take it personally. Move on. And don't make assumptions. We all know what assume, the word assume means making an ASS out of you and ME, you and me. So that's what assumptions will do. So going too fast, we want to hear more about those guiding principles. You know what? I can send those off to Jamie to post as some of the other information. Oh, and I forgot to tell all of you, everything I'm saying is in a document that's going to be coming to you as notes. So what I'm kind of cheating off of here, you're all going to get a copy of too. So, and I know I am going fast. I have a habit of doing that. When we make assumptions, it's because we believe we know what others are thinking and feeling. We believe we know their point of view. I am very guilty of this. We forget that our beliefs are just our point of view based on our belief system and our personal experiences. And they have nothing to do with what that other person is thinking and feeling and going through. We're all in our own little universes. And if we could just make those universes get together a little more by not assuming and being very clear in our questions and our communicating instead of just assuming, it really helps. I have stopped sending a lot of emails for people who are in my own building. I mean, it's much easier to get up, walk to them, and have a conversation. So don't expect the people around you to know what's in your head. Let them know. Let them know. Don't let them know. Don't do the TMI thing. I can be guilty of that too. But let them know so that they're not wondering. And then always do your best. Heck, if we're always doing our best, imagine what the world would be. So it's going to change from moment to moment. Like the last few days, I've had some struggles with my little girl who's got some stomach issues. So my best hasn't been that great. I'm a little tired, but it's different when I'm in my healthy moments as opposed to when I'm in my sick moments. But if I'm always aiming to do my best, then I'll avoid the self-judgment, the self-abuse, the regret. I won't have to make amends to half the universe for saying stupid junk, that kind of thing. It means enjoying the action without expecting a reward. Without expecting a reward. Anyone out there like me who want the little pats on the back? If I can get through a day and not need that, it's a much better day, and I'm aiming for that too. Pleasure comes from doing what you like in life and having fun, not how much you get out of it. Not how much the paycheck is, not how many awards you get, and not all the kudos. Just enjoy the path you're on because you're on it for yourself. Live in the moment. Release the past. It allows us to be fully alive right now. This is all we've got right now, so enjoy the present. How do they say it? I didn't write this one down. I'm trying to remember. Yesterday is history. Today is the future is a mystery, and today is the present. That's why it's called a gift. Something I got it wrong. One of you might remember it, but it's a great little mantra that this is what the gift that we get is today. And be patient with yourself. I love to get the club out and bloody myself up. So practice forgiveness on yourself and others. Transformation is going to happen. If you are always doing your best, you're going to transform. It's going to be amazing. How do you reconcile always doing your best with not getting hung up on perfection? Aim for the B. Aim for the B. It's hard to do that if you come from a background of being the straight A student, of being, getting the awards, all that kind of stuff. When you just aim for good enough and not the best, it's like an anti. I hate even saying that out loud because I always wanted to aim for the best. But when you aim for the good enough, the stress goes down, the perfectionism gets removed, and being free of perfect, there's a lot of books on that. I'll maybe put a list of those together. It's amazing to relieve yourself of perfectionism because, look, the best part of relieving myself of perfectionism was how I treat other people. Since I always expected it of myself, if I came to a meeting and you weren't there on time and you walked in 5 minutes later, I already had an attitude with you. Now, because I'm sometimes 5 minutes late for meetings, you walk in late, I'm like, yeah, no problem, let's get on with it. It's just, it makes everything lighter, everything easier. So it's a great area to get educated in, I'll tell you. So,
Stephanie?
Yes.
What is the name of the book again? That
Which
you were referring
book?
To?
The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Okay.
Living by the 4 Agreements. Yep.
Thank you.
By the 4, yeah. Yeah, just 4 agreements, the 4 agreements. There you go.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, so why do all of this? So that you don't release this person. Any of you have an inner Hulk? Oh, just ask my husband. He has seen the She-Hulk in me. So, and my coworkers have seen her occasionally, but it is nasty, man. So you don't want to have to get to that level. So instead of doing that, There's a lot of other ways you can stay positive. These are like the last things here in the presentation. So control your response. Take a deep breath, count to 10, and do what you have to remove yourself from the negativity. I do this quite a bit. Just ask my daughters. Mommy's taking a time out. And I will literally go in my room and shut the door so that I don't scream at them. It really works. Because that natural inclination when you're feeling all those hormones come up is to let it out, because it makes you feel better, but look what it does to all those around you, right? So, I mean, I'm speaking for me, so hopefully some of you can relate. The attitude you take in these negative situations is a choice. It is your choice. So the way to beat the negative situation is to stay positive no matter what. It is not easy, and it does require discipline, a whole lot of discipline, years of discipline. So start now. Think of it as a training program, like when you're starting a new exercise regimen. You're not going to succeed every time. I don't think I'll ever succeed every time for my whole life, but each year gets better and better, and you do learn to control those reactions, those habit reactions. So control the response. Thumper's rule. Always remember Thumper's rule. You guys are librarians. You know Thumper's rule. If you can't say anything nice, then don't say anything at all. It's much better. I wish I should have that on my forehead. Learn from negative situations. Look at that situation as an opportunity to learn and grow. I call these AFGOs. That's AFGO. There's two ways you can look at that. What do you call it when you have initial? I'm losing the word. The letters that form a word. I can't think of it. But the AFGO stands for another fine growth opportunity.
Acronym?
Now, I like to change the F. Acronym, thank you. I knew there'd be someone out there who could help me. So another word.
I couldn't remember. Someone told me.
Thank you. So AFGO, if you want to be in the politically correct universe, it's another fine growth opportunity. You may change that F word to something else if you like. I like to use that other F word because that's what it feels like sometimes. And then Albert Einstein said, in the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. I like to think of that one. He's all about learning. So put it into something positive, that energy. Channel that energy, because it's a lot of energy. And if you put it in a better area, you can do quite a lot. And then if you do react negatively, which I do on a regular basis, be aware of it and the circumstances, and then make the amends. Fix it. I have gone to, just ask my coworkers how many times I go and say, I'm really sorry for having said that. I was really stressed out. I'm trying to do better. I'll try to do better the next time. Ask my husband about it. Sometimes sorry's not enough. Let's see. Train yourself so you can control the situation instead of allowing the situation to control your actions. And then if you make a mistake, admit it. Oh my gosh, I know I'm supposed to accept people as they are, but people who make mistakes and then don't admit it, I'm sorry. It just drives me insane. So I don't know if I have time for my onion story. I probably don't because we're already at a quarter of. So
no, we have
just
time.
Own your mistakes. Oh, it's a good story. So I went to the beach. My husband's family goes down to the beach every year, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. And we all share a refrigerator, and we share all the space. And it's great. I have a wonderful in-law family. I'm really, really blessed, and I know how lucky I am. So with my food issues, I have certain, my food requirements have to always be just so that I can maintain my recovery, blah, blah, blah. So I had these onions that I had bought, and then they weren't in the drawer where I just knew I had put them in that drawer. So they came in, I'm like, where's my onion? Don't mess with my food. And someone said, oh, that onion that was in the drawer, I could have sworn we bought that. I'm so sorry. We used it in the salad. I'm like, it's fine. I'll just go buy another one tomorrow. No big deal. Oh, I was just ugly, right? So the next day, it's the morning, and I'm going through my bags of all the special foods I bring with me for my kids and all this. And what do you think is at the bottom of one of the bags but my onions? Oh, my gosh. And I thought, they never have to know. Never have to know they were in that bag. No, this is not the life I live today. So I walked in. They were all eating breakfast, onions in hand, and I said, I am really sorry. That was your onion that you ate, and here are my onions. And everyone just laughed. They know me with my weird food issues. But I owned up to it, and then I could get on with my day. If I kept that in, that's going to just fester, So maintain a positive view, replace negative statements, and use affirmations. Let me go through. I love these negative statement tricks. So milder wording. I don't know. How about, well, let me find out. Or you must change to, would you please? It's such a difference in wording. It's amazing. And then there is changing a negative to a neutral or positive. Look at this. When I read about this, I thought this was great. I can't handle this. So change that self-limiting statement to, how can I handle this? It's the same thing. I could throw my hands up in the air and say, how can I handle this? But at least I'm saying, how can I handle this, instead of I can't. Or this is impossible, to how is this possible? So you can still have the icky voice coming out as you do it, but you're looking for a solution. So I love that. I've really been taking these to heart. So, and then on your own time, you're going to get a link to this Prezi, since I don't have sound connected to all this. That will go to a YouTube link of an old song from, I forget the era, but I have an 85-year-old friend who walks this path with me, and it's by Johnny Mercer and the Pied Pipers. It's called Accentuate the Positive, and the words are, I'd sing for you. I am a singer, but I don't want to totally embarrass myself, but you've got to accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, and don't mess with Mr. In-Between. Those words, and when you have an 85-year-old dear woman singing that to you, how can you be negative? It's great. So the moral of this whole long story is, don't let the actions of others or circumstances turn you to the dark side of the workforce. Do not go there. Instead, utilize these hints, because one other phrase that I love to say is, you cannot think your way into right acting. So you could think about this in your head all you want. You have to act your way into right thinking. So until you put these things into practice, it won't mean a thing. Because I tried that. I would write about it. I'd read about it. I'd think about it. But until I started living it, nothing changes. You know, what is insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So put these into practice, and you will be amazed. I didn't get to do a circle either, but we'll see. And let me pause this for a second. So I think what we'll do is, because we have time for questions, Jamie, if there were any questions, and then I want to end the whole thing with these little positive statements when we're completely done. So we'll just look at a plus sign for now. So let's see. Any questions that came through here? Or you can...
One of them that came in is, do you have any more tips on how to break free from burnout when you're in the midst of it?
Yeah. When you're in the real throes of it, you got to get a support. Is it like the moment you're in the midst of it, walk out, get out? I mean, I will. I'll look at the people I'm with and say, I have got to walk away for a moment. Let them have all those weird looks on their faces. I've walked out of meetings with our whole management team, and I've just said, I need to take a break. And I just get up and walk out because I'm ready to, lose it or whatever. So, walk away. Now, if it's long-term, when you're like every day that you wake up and you're like, I can't go to this job, I can't do anything, you need a support system. Maybe you need a therapist. They're great. I got one myself. So I'm a pretty self-disclosing person if you haven't caught on by now, so I kind of say it like it is. Well, the notes you send list, I'll be sure to send the guiding principles to Jamie to send to all of you guys. Oh yeah, long term. So long term, it's a process. Get a support group together. Any area you're in, if you're in a real rural area, there's telephone support systems out there that you can even join up. So hook up with maybe a therapist in your area that can suggest some of those. I have quite a network that I call upon that I've been working with for many years, even more than 14 years. So you got to have that build up around you to help you get through this stuff. Can't do it on your own. Wish I could. Oh, go ahead.
I want to ask Steph. So you mentioned how having some stress is good, and I remember talking to a friend of mine who she's actually a TV reporter and does live shots on TV, and and she says how she gets stressed out a lot of times before she goes on air, but she always says, but I take that as a good thing because it shows I care. So I think the fact too that you were doing some heavy breathing before we went live today, I mean, if you didn't care, if it wasn't a good stress, you just be like, well, I don't care how I do. I don't care what they think of this information or how it goes. So I think that's a good thing. And you talked about the stress and recovery. So what are some things that you've read or some things that you do to get that
for the recovery period?
Correct.
Yeah. So I can give a pretty good example. It's personal. I had a real blow up with my husband last night, and he had to go pick the girls up from daycare, and he's leaving. And I'm like, I'm just thinking the worst. Like, we're going to have a divorce. I'm extreme. I like to go to those. I love him to death. But I made a phone call, To recover. I had to. I called someone in my support system and said, I'm in insane mode. You need to talk me down before my husband gets back with these children. And when he walked through the door, I said, I'm really sorry. I was off balance. I was off base, and I said the wrong thing, and please accept my apology. I got sometimes sorry's not good enough, and I said, you need your space. I really can appreciate that. And by the end of the night, we were okay. So, you know, you don't always get the response you want, but, you know, reach it. So that's one way I recover. Going for a walk is another way I recover. I'm lucky enough to have an office with a door. I know not everyone has that, but I'll shut the door and do my stretches, do my deep breathing to just and do my faith, pray. You know, what if that works for you? That kind of stuff. How else do I recover? I don't want to reveal everything about myself, but so yeah, exercise. If I don't exercise, I do get really and sing. Whatever your hobby is. If I'm not singing, I am in bad shape because that relieves me of so much stress and depression type stuff. So, you know, whatever you really love, make that a way for your recovery period and just let the stress flow through that. Maybe you like to knit. Maybe you like to read. Maybe, why am I saying that? I'm talking to librarians. Those are stereotypes and a half. Maybe you like to ride a bike. Maybe you like to get on the floor and play with your kid's pet, you know, pet your pets. It doesn't have to be a cat, though I bet a lot of them are. So that's some advice there. And then there's affirmations. Those of you who are struggling, I can't tell you. There's a 4-question thing I do with my thoughts when they come in. Like one of my my least favorite ones is you're not good enough. That's sort of a core issue with me. You're not good enough. Messages received or, you know, whatever. So what's the negative feeling? I'm not good enough. So you ask yourself, what is this feeling that I'm feeling? This is called a circle work. And then what's the thought? Well, I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling what's the feeling that goes with I'm not good enough? Just sad or down, low kind of a feeling. So what's the thought? I'm not good enough. I didn't do a good enough job. It wasn't perfect. Oh my gosh, you know. So you ask yourself, now, is that thought kind, helpful, or true? Kind and helpful, obviously not. True is the hard one. When you're attacking one of your core beliefs, you might think it's true, but it's because your negative tapes are telling you that it's true. So the answer to is it kind, helpful, or true is always no. And then you turn that thought into an affirmation, and that has to be personal to you, in the present tense, positive and potentially true. So, this will be something you would develop on your own, but for me, I always like to bring my faith element into it. So if you'll allow me that, I would say, I am a worthy child of God who is good enough just the way I am today, and I do great work. So something like some kind of an affirmation. And then if you really want to get serious with these, years ago I used to do this. You write that down 40 times. You record it into, well, it used to be my little handheld recorder back in the day. Now I could use my iPod with the little microphone, right, and record it 40 times. And then you play back your own voice saying that. Yes, this is as tacky as Saturday Night Live's something moments, right? It is. I am special. I used to think that was such crap. Sorry, I did just say crap on a webinar, but it's true. It works. So if it works, use it. So change your thoughts by doing those affirmation work. It really, I do it today when I'm really in a bad spot. I whip out my paper. What am I feeling? What's the thought making me feel this way? Yes, we know it's not kind, helpful, or true. What should I say in place of it? I slap it on. Just ask my coworkers. I got all kinds of stuff slapped around all over me because it takes work to be positive, especially if you're disposed to being the perfectionistic, negative, seeing the bad side of everything. You got to really get that cardboard scissor pathway really needs to get changed, and that takes a lot of work. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie.
Yep.
I don't see anything else coming in, but before you show the video,
yes.
I just wanted to mention, if any of you are that are still listening in, if you are a director, manager, or even if you're not, but you think this is something, or this program would be something good for your staff to watch, I would encourage you to get together as a staff and watch the recording and maybe talk about some of the, especially if you're watching it in relating to possible stress in your library or some challenges going on at the current time. And maybe after watching, it would be a good thing to maybe talk about some of the stressors, and instead of the, we can't do this, and what did you say, Stephanie, instead of how do we do this, or how
can we do this,
how can we do this, or if there's,
and you might end up with an answer that you can't, but at least you tried,
right? If there's a problem patron or something of that nature. So I think this would be a webinar really good for that to watch together. So, okay.
Yep. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to ask all of you, right where you are, just take a deep breath and exhale it out. This presentation, the link will be given to you so you could actually watch this again with the music because it's like beach wave sounds and all that beautiful stuff. So we're just going to watch this, and I'm not going to say anything when it's done. You can just sign off then when it's done. And thanks very much for everything. I've really enjoyed presenting this.
Thank you, Stephanie.